During World War II, there were over 400,000 German prisoners of war detained in the United States. By the end of the war, there would be over 500 camps in 46 states. This occurred between 1942 to 1946. In 1941, due to a housing shortage, Britain requested that the United States help with housing prisoners of war. The United States agreed, although it was not prepared and had very little experience with prisoners of war. Starting in November 1942, with no preparations made, German prisoners of war started arriving. There were as many as 30,000 prisoners of war being shipped to the United States each month on Liberty ships that would have otherwise been returning empty. The Geneva Convention of 1929 required the United States treat the prisoners of war the same as its own military. This meant that if the prisoners had to sleep in tents while their living quarters were being built, so did their guards. It also meant that if the prisoners chose to work, they received American military wages. This was 80 cents per day and was deposited in an account which could be saved or spent in the canteen, which was like a general store. The Geneva Convention of 1929 was followed to the letter because it was felt that the good treatment of the German prisoners best protected the American soldiers captured by the Germans. For this reason, the German prisoners were encouraged to write letters home telling how well they were being treated. The prisoners were governed and disciplined by their own chosen leaders. And when they went outside the compound for official assignments, they were guarded by American soldiers. In spite of their confinement, the prisoners had many privileges. Their food was the same as American troops, including special meals for Thanksgiving and Christmas. They received 2 packs of cigarettes a day and frequently ate meat, both of which were rationed for American civilians. The prisoners were provided with writing materials, art supplies, woodworking tools, and musical instruments. Prisoners of war organized musicals and plays. The frequent theatrical and musical performances by the prisoners were attended by hundreds, including the American Guards and the American Red Cross. Movies were shown as often as 4 nights a week, and camps built libraries, subscribed to American newspapers, and printed their own camp newspapers. There were many diverse activities to keep the prisoners busy, including sports. Although they expected to go home after the war ended in 1945, the majority of German prisoners continued to work in the United States until 1946, and then spent 3 or more years as laborers in Britain or France. This was due to the dire state of the economy in Germany after the war. Most German prisoners of war detained in the United States left with positive feelings about the country. After returning to Germany, about 5,000 Germans immigrated to the United States, and thousands of others have visited.